All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Rocky Top Insider Instant Reaction Show. This is Jack Foster. I'm Rick Butler. We're standing here on the field in Columbia after Tennessee falls to Missouri by a score of 36-7. Jack, this was really a game where not only could Tennessee's offense not get the ball rolling, but they also had a lot of trouble in slowing down running back Cody Schrader.
Yeah.
Jack, this was the lowest points scored that Josh Heupel has had here in his 3-year tenure at Tennessee.
Yeah, previous low was last year against Georgia with 13, 7 tonight. It's the worst loss of his career at Tennessee. I believe it's the worst loss of his head coaching career. You look at some of the UCF losses, nothing compares to this type of loss. I do think, I don't know 100% if it's the most points he's ever lost by, but when you just take into account everything that went into this game and how Tennessee lost this game tonight, it was ugly on all levels.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't even know where to start with, but I think you start with the defense and Cody Schrader. Cody Schrader had his way with Tennessee, and it was through the air and on the ground. There was missing gap integrity from Tennessee's defense. There was missing tackles from Tennessee's defense. And there was just really athletic plays by the running back. But ultimately, Tennessee had absolutely no answer for this running back. And they were able to not only control the clock, they were able to control the pace of the game. You go back to that first quarter, Tennessee has 3 offensive snaps compared to, I believe, they had 24 at the time. This was just a game where Missouri had control from the opening jump.
Yeah, they certainly did. As you mentioned, 24 plays to 3 in the first quarter. Tennessee just couldn't find a rhythm. And, you know, they probably should have been down more than they were going into halftime. You kind of felt 6-point deficit going into half was a little fortunate given how Tennessee had played. But, you know, you talk about the defense. That's what this loss falls on, in my opinion. The defense was just gashed multiple times tonight. Could not contain Brady Cook's legs. Couldn't get off the field on first down. And when you look at, on third down, I should say, and when you look at Cody Schrader's numbers tonight, it's very surprising, Rick, because this is a Tennessee rush defense dating back to last year that's been really good and is limiting teams to less than 100 yards rushing per game. Of course, Cody Schrader comes in as the SEC's leading rusher, but you really expected, given how they played against Ray Davis a couple weeks ago, they'd be able to limit him. Not the case. He had over 300 yards from scrimmage tonight, over 200 rushing yards. He was a beast.
Yeah, again, both Gabe Jeudy-Lally and Josh Heupel talked about it after the game. Just they were not able to execute the way that they wanted to. Now, both did give credit to a good offensive scheme from Missouri and obviously athletic running back play, but it wasn't just Schrader. It was also Brady Cook. There were so many third downs. Third down was a really troubling spot for Tennessee. They just couldn't get off the field. Now, I believe Missouri had around 15 third downs in the game. We don't have the final stats with us right now.
10 of 15 or 11 of 16 in the end.
Okay, there you go, because I saw 10 of 15 as well. Tennessee had them in 15 to 16 third down spots, but they were able to convert more than 2/3 of those.
Yeah, and I believe after their long drive, their 20-play drive, if you remember that, when they first got points, that bled into the second quarter. I believe they had 6 third down conversions on that drive alone. So, you know, that drive really sticks out as, you know, Tennessee's defense not being able to get off the field. And early in the game, you know, that just doesn't create any momentum positively for Tennessee. But yeah, Brady Cook's legs, I want to give the stat. He had 49 rushing yards on third down conversions tonight, and I believe he finished with around mid-50s mark.
That's unbelievable.
And sack yardage goes into account on quarterback rushing yards, so you have to take that into account. But it wasn't like he got sacked multiple times tonight. But they just could not contain him, especially on third down. He was moving the chains.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was constantly throughout the game. There wasn't as many adjustments as I think you would like to see, or at least the execution on the adjustments. And I don't know what necessarily went into that, but that was an area where Tennessee needed to be better at throughout the game, and they just did not get there. Now, flipping over to the offensive side, it's kind of wild that maybe the only score that Tennessee had in this game was likely the most improbable play of the whole game. Dante Thornton makes a really nice catch actually right here in the end zone. He goes out with injury. But, Jack, this was a game where Tennessee has been known to run the ball the entire year, whether it be Jalen Wright, Joe Milton, Dylan Sampson, and they just couldn't get it going today.
And it's very surprising. You would expect it a little bit against Alabama, such a good rush defense the Tide has. But Missouri, middle of the pack, not a crazy bad rush defense or anything, but certainly not one of the SEC's best. And it was very surprising for Tennessee to not get anything going. Of course, they were not able to get in a rhythm based on how the first quarter went. But it was just really disappointing. I thought Dylan Sampson should have gotten more work. It's very similar to how the Florida game played out. I feel like Tennessee just kind of gets into this rut when games play out this way, and they don't know how to get out of it. When adversity hits, it's hard for them to overcome that. And when you felt Missouri take that 19-7 lead is when I felt, man, I just don't know if this Tennessee team can overcome a 12-point deficit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that you think about now with 3 losses on the season, to Florida, to Alabama, to Missouri.
Yeah.
these weren't last-minute losses. These weren't even fourth-quarter losses necessarily. I know the Alabama one was in the second half.
Yeah, third quarter loss, really, yeah.
But it was, in all three of these losses so far, it's been Tennessee just kind of getting manhandled, and it's been on the road. But I do see that as a concern for Tennessee.
Yeah, and I don't think we should. This is a 29-point loss. It got
ugly
sideways at late with the fumble and then the pick six. I mean, things just spiraled out of control really fast in like a 5-minute span. So the score reflects more of a beatdown than it actually was because, Missouri wasn't just pummeling them offensively. They were moving the ball well, but they weren't scoring touchdowns every time, if that makes sense. But certainly Tennessee's offense couldn't get going, as you said. Outside of the Thornton play, which is the most improbable touchdown they've scored this season, they were going to get blanked tonight. And that's just really hard to wrap your brain around.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Jack, we pretty much covered both sides. Also, give a special, maybe a game ball to Jackson Ross. That's one of the big positives coming out of the game.
Baller,
and,
man.
When Tennessee's talking about the punter kind of getting the game ball at the game, I think, not discrediting him, but that kind of just shows you that Tennessee had a really hard time on both sides of the ball tonight. And again, I think the score is indicative of that. Jack, any other kind of final thoughts as we wrap this up?
Well, I think when you have such a bad loss like this, you say, where do you go from here? Now, there's 2 games left in the season, and you get Georgia next week. Great time to get Georgia, right? Off a 29-point road loss. Well, obviously not one of the best teams in the nation. So, a lot of people are saying Tennessee needs to do soul searching. We're so far into the season. I don't know if I'm overreacting to this big time. I mean, the season was kind of already what it was. You needed Georgia to lose and to win tonight. Obviously, that's not what's going to happen. But I don't know. I'm just very curious to see what Tennessee does next week and how they bounce back from this. Because as I said,